Hey guys, hope everyone's doing good on this Friday morning, evening, whatever. Uh let's see. I wanted to talk about a issue that I guess we're faced with today. Where there's a lot of I think it's even spilling over to the Muslims as well. I know it's an issue amongst the non-Muslims. And that's the issue of you know it's an issue of men and women, right? It's an issue of men saying that they're not, because I was let me just cut it straight up. Okay, so I was watching this video of this one guy, right? And he was saying how um you know yeah, a woman's success or her college education, right, or how much money she's making does not matter to a guy, right? And I can understand where he's coming from, right? In the sense that, how much money a woman is making, right? Or her level of education, whether she's a PhD or these things, right? Yeah, these things does not matter, right? Um, but ultimately I think what because this guy I was watching, right? I feel like there's nuances to what he's saying, right? Um, because say for example, right, a woman that is educated, if we were to compare, right, let's take for example a woman who is educated, right? Let's say she's a doctor, or let's say whatever, she got a education, right? um and let's say that woman, right, let's say she's been taking care of herself in the process, right, in terms of like, let's say in terms of education, she's doing something that she's passionate about, something that she has a liking for, that she likes, right? um and let's say along and then the side as well, she's taking care of herself, right, in terms of her spirituality, in terms of her emotional health, right? um yeah, let's say she's taking care of all these components, right? um yeah, and her health too, right? Like her, she's controlling her, what she's eating. She's trying to eat like better food, better quality food. She's taking care of her body, right? Now, if you compare that girl, right, to another girl, let's say, who don't have a college education, right? Um, I don't want to compare, but I'm just saying all this to say that it all depends, right? Like it depends on many factors, right? Um, and I think, yeah, it depends on many factors, right? I know a lot of us guys, right? Even me before, right? Just the idea of, I'm not gonna lie, just that sometimes, just the idea of just because me, the thing I was bothered by, right? Like me, I'm more annoyed with like people saying I'm educated, or I'm a independent woman, I'm an educated woman. Like you don't have to say that, right? Like that's, if anything, that makes you come across very like insecure, right? Because if a person knows who they are, right? Like if you know deep down, like who, like it's like you're proving yourself to men, right? Like it's like you're proving to men that you're an independent woman, right? Or that you're an educated woman. And for me, that was what in a way bothered me, like before, right? But nothing else. It wasn't a matter of a woman being educated per se, right? Um and it wasn't something that that bothered me, because it's like I'm content with myself, right? So as a man, it's like it boils down to like, because I know sometimes that could also, because when men say like this guy I was watching, right, he was saying how woman, her career, this doesn't matter, right? And for me, it comes like when I was watching it, like it comes across like very like immature, right? Like very like yeah, like a very immature place, right? Because there are a lot of educated women that also have everything else, right? Like, you know, it's not just the education that they have, right? They have the emotional component, you know, they have the spiritual components, you know, the physical components, right? And that person is working on being their best self, right? Like the best version of themselves, right? And that college education is just enhancing whatever it is that they already have, right? um you know, yeah, in a way, education, sometimes having knowledge, right, it sometimes um you know, it empowers you, right? Like it empowers you, and it makes you and it makes you feel like you're like, not that you're worth something, because your worth should ultimately come from God, right? um but it just makes you, you know, yeah, it just makes you feel empowered. Like it makes you feel like you're like the best version of yourself, right? Like that you're like giving back especially with the knowledge that you have and the education that you have. You want to use that to give back, right? To make a impact on other people's lives, right? And that's what ultimately plays into your worth, right? um and so yeah, like I think, like I was just saying, you know, it comes down to just, you know, the person, right? I don't think we can generalize to say that, you know, because to be honest, right, I personally feel like right now a lot of men, you know, they're probably saying this because they're not the best version of themselves, right? Because if as a man, if you're at the best place, right, if you're a person who is trying to do a lot, right, you only want the same, right? Like you only want a woman who's gonna add to what you're doing, right? um and not take it away, right? Like, you know, if you're a guy who's very educated himself, you know, who sees himself doing more, right? Like, you're not just gonna settle for just any type of woman, right? You're actually gonna pay attention to what's gonna add to your value, right? Like what's gonna add to what you're already doing, right? And so, yeah, you know, I just wanted to, you know, to just make a brief video about this. Um, you know, I don't think we should get caught up in this very you know, yeah, it's very like small thing, right? You know, because, you know, women being educated is a good thing, right? It is good in the sense that, you know, yeah, it's just good all around, right? You know, especially for her kids, right? When she has kids, I mean, for herself is good, right? Like it's good to for her to be the best version of herself, right? So that she could also give the best version of herself to her husband, right? To her kids, right? And then even later is gonna benefit her because like when her kids grow up, right? Let's say her kids grow up and she might want to go back to what she was doing, like in terms of like helping people and stuff, like, you know, she can go back to that, right? Um, you know, so yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, you need a college education to help people, but I'm just saying, for example, like if she was to major in something like, you know, that's helping people, like doctor or like a nurse or like, you know, teacher or something like that, right? Because you can help people in other ways too, right? Um, and yeah, so yeah, you know, like I said, I don't want to, you know, I know sometimes, like I said, we tend to generalize a lot, right? Um, and we don't mention like nuances to the conversation, right? Like this guy I was watching, you know, he was just, you know, he just made it like a blank, like a blank thing, right? Whereas like a girl, let's say a girl who is educated, she might come across that and she might, um, you know, she might feel like all of her work is not wasn't worth it, right? She might feel like very bad, like who knows, right? Um, and she shouldn't either, you know, because she should know what was the reason for her. Like she should be at and that's why I also like, more than just like, I feel like we just live in a very like, I don't know what's the word, but like, um it's like, I don't even know, man. um we live in a very like basic society, man, because it's like that girl, in the meantime, she should also like, she should have also worked on her inner qualities, right? Like, make sure that she was also good with herself, right? Like, try to get closer to God, try to find like a sense of self, right? Because it's like, now when you do get educated, like when you do have education, no, whatever a guy says shouldn't throw you off, like, if a guy is here saying, oh, college education doesn't matter, your money doesn't matter, that's why you're single. If a guy if a guy says that, it shouldn't throw you off, because it's like, you're so good with yourself, right? And you know that God also, because you were also in the meantime getting closer to God, right? And building your faith, right? So now it's like, you have faith that you're gonna find someone, right? That person that's meant to be, will come into your life, because you did everything right, right? um in terms of spirituality, in terms of education, in terms of your physical health, emotional health, right? Like, at this point, you became the best version of yourself. So you're gonna have hope. You should have hope that you're gonna find someone, right? And whatever a guy is saying shouldn't throw you off, um, because it's easy for other people to make you feel down, right? Or to make yourself feel down, because you might look all around you, right? And you might see like, you might be like, oh, it seems like all these other girls are winning, right? You might look around you, you might be like, oh, all the men are running after these type of girls, and I'm here, I'm an educated woman, I have everything right, but nobody's coming after me. Like, you should be happy that those guys are not coming after you, right? Because you know those guys and those girls are all at the same level, right? Like, in terms of just immaturity, in terms of not knowing who they are, not knowing what they want. Like, they're they're trying to figure themselves they're trying to figure out who they are amongst themselves, right? So you should be happy that you're not being played around with in the process, right? Like, you should be happy that you're at the place where you are right now, where you're evolving to be the best version of yourself, right? And now a guy who's also at your level is gonna see you, he's gonna find you, right? um so yeah, the whole thing about like college education, right? And just say, I also feel like sometimes some women can put everything into that, right? I don't think, I don't think a college education should be the only thing that there is to life, right? um there's I think there's also a spirituality component, right? Like, knowing your purpose of this life, right? Like, these are things that you have to first, that in the process too, like in the process of you getting your education, you should also figure out your purpose to life, right? You should also try to find God, and find a sense of self, right? So that this college education is just going to add on to that, right? It's just going to add on to you. It's not going to be the thing that makes you, right? Because if you lose that, you're not going to end up losing yourself, right? Because you have a set foundation, right? um you know so yeah, I just wanted to make a video in response to this, what this guy said. Because it could, like I said, I do get what he's saying. Like, he's saying that, you know if you have a college education, or a doctor, right, that doesn't automatically like qualify you to find someone, right? um which is true. Like, you could have a college education, but if you're a horrible person to interact with, if you're a, you know, if you're a mean-hearted or a harsh person, no one's gonna want to come around you, right? So you have to also work on your internal too, right? Like you have to also develop your character, right? You have to be a person of character, and then, you know, yeah, and then the right person will find you. Um, so yeah, that's all I wanted to, to speak on. Um, this whole college education thing is like, I wish there could be a longer extended video, right? Um, yeah, I wish there was an extended video in regards to this, because it is something that, you know, and also I think men have to ask themselves too, right? When you say that you don't like a woman's education doesn't matter, right? Is there a little immaturity with that, right? Like, is there a little bit of insecurity, I should say, with that, right? Like, are you saying that because you're insecure, right, of the thought of a woman being educated, right? Because now you might be thinking of what could come out of that, right? So you're operating from a place of fear, right? Like, you're not operating from a place of secureness. Like, you're not secure, you know. You're not you're not yeah, you're not operating from a place of security, right? Like, you're thinking of the worst case scenario. Like, what if she's educated? Oh, that means she's not gonna listen to me. Oh, that means she's gonna she's gonna disrespect me. But that's, you cannot say that 100%, right? Because, you know, yeah, she might have like her own independence, right? But if, as a man, if you're treating her right, right, no woman is just gonna go out of her way to disrespect you, right? Like, no woman is just gonna walk all over you if you're treating her right, right? Like, if there's basic respect there, right? If there's basic respect, basic understanding, right? And also like having boundaries too, right? Like, there should be no reason why anyone disrespects anyone, right? And I think as men, we also we tend to, you know, we come from a very like we come from like a very, I apologize for the stuff on my beard. It's like I put like oil on my beard, so like, and it just sticks there sometimes. But yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, with like what was I saying? I just lost track. So we just have to, you know, really, yeah, like the woman, she's not just gonna disrespect you, right? Like, no woman is just gonna automatically. I mean, again, you have to, as a man, you also have to do your groundwork too, right? Like, you have to really look into the person that you're marrying, right? Like, does this person have good character, right? If that person has good character, they're not gonna automatically, you know, disrespect you, right? Now, if this is a person with no character and now she's an independent woman, then that's probably likely, right? But all in all, right? Like, if there's mutual respect there, right? There's no abuse, there's no like there's no mistreatment. So it's like, why would a woman now all of a sudden disrespect you, right? Um, and it's like any woman can, irregardless of her level of education, right? If there's a woman with education, one without education, both can stand up to you, right? It just depends on if she wants to, right? I mean, how many cases you see today where there's women who don't have education who are stepping up to their husband, right? So it's like, this is just dependent on how you treat the woman, right? Like, if you're treating the woman like wrong, or you're abusing her, of course, every human gets angry, right? Every human being has emotions and feelings, right? So of course she's gonna step up to you. That's not indicative of whether she has education or not, whether she's independent or not. That's just human nature, right? Like, yeah, that's just human nature. Like, anyone can step up to you, you know. You know, I think oh man, I have to actually like sit down with a like with someone like a guy, and really like explore this, right? Because it's like, what are we saying? Like, are we saying that a woman who's not independent will not step up to you, right? Like, are we saying that? Like, are we saying that a woman who's not independent will submit to you? Is that what we're saying? Because like, and what is submission, right? Like, what is a woman? What does it mean for a woman to submit to you? You know, um, what does it mean? Like, does that mean that she puts all of her anger aside, right? Because like, say in the case where a woman is not educated, right, and a man is like physically abusing her, right, and now she feels like she cannot leave, right? Um, yeah, let's say she cannot leave because, um, you know, yeah, she's not independent enough, right? Or she won't know how to. But it's like in the society that we live in nowadays, you even see women who are not educated and women who don't have the independence still leaving, right? So it's like, what submission are we talking about here? Like, what submission are we talking about here? Because it's like, even the woman without education, who we expect for her to submit, I guess, even they're leaving the marriage, right? So it's like, what does it boil down to? You know, um, like, what does it boil down to? And I think ultimately it boils down to a woman's character, right? I think it boils down to a woman's character ultimately. If even a college educated woman, like, she's not just gonna leave like that, right? She's not gonna just leave just because she got independence, right? Like, she's not gonna say, "Oh, I'm done. I divorce you." Like, she's not just gonna say that because she has money. Like, if she loves you, if she has a family with you, you're the first guy, she loved, she's not just gonna leave like that, right? Like, it's not easy for anyone to just leave anything, right? Like, just because that person has independence, like, it's not an easy thing. It's not just like, I'm just gonna go and leave, and so, like I said, I think it all ultimately depends on the woman's character, right? The person's character, you know and the education, is just, as a man, you should support, we should be more supportive of women being educated, right? Because they're ultimately, and I'm not saying like, because I feel like a woman shouldn't also do what society tells her to do. I think you should do what you feel like you should want to do, right? Like, you should do what makes you a better version of yourself, right? Like, if that means getting educated, do it, right? Um, if education doesn't is not it for you, or you feel like your spirituality or your health is gonna make you a better version, do that, right? Um, if you wanna study, like, um on the side, right? Like, you want to study like health and nutrition, and you want to teach people about that, do that, right? If that makes you the better version of yourself, and you want to feel like you're giving back to the people, to the society, and that makes you a better version of yourself, do that, right? Like, do what makes you what makes you a better version. Like, it all depends on you, right? Like, don't look to society. Like, I know nowadays society tells everyone, go get educated, don't let men tell you what to do, like, da da da. And it's like, now you're operating from even as a woman, you're operating from a place of fear now, right? Like, you're operating from a place of fear, and not a place of being the best version of yourself, right? So yeah, I think men and women, I think we got a lot of work to do, you know and there yeah, we got a lot of work to do in terms of just every aspect of our lives, right? There's a lot that we need to work on, right? And and yeah, we just got to do the work, right? We got to do the work that's necessary to get us to where we need to be, right? um and yeah, so you know, like I said, don't look to society to tell you, you know, uh yeah, don't follow society, man, because society, you know, you know, they always sometimes society pushes things um that have no substance, right? Like look for substance, look for like, you know, things that matter, right? Like look for, you know, look for substance, you know. In the case of like marriage too, right? Like some a girl might be, you know, in her mind she might feel like marriage is the thing that's gonna make her be her best version, the best version of herself, right? But she might not go into it because society's telling her to be an independent woman, right? And that girl, I would tell her, don't listen to society, right? Like don't listen to what other people say. If you feel like marriage is gonna be the thing that's gonna get you to that next level, seek marriage, right? Like forget about society. Do what you want, right? Do what you feel like is gonna be the thing that's gonna take you to the next level, right? And yeah, you know, that's about it. You know, I just wanted to basically, I think, like I said, I think, you know, we gotta make like a longer version of this video, you know, and yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed it. And you know, I try to touch on a lot of things, so you know, I hope I touched on what was necessary. But yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and yeah, take care, guys.